Japanese children are among the calmest, most focused kids on the planet, and most of them have never touched a tablet. Here is why their parents refuse to hand one over, and what the science says they are protecting. The average child in the US gets a screen before they can walk. In Japan, that same age child gets a wooden block. One of those choices is building a brain. The other is borrowing from it. Let's talk about what is actually happening inside your child's head during those years, and why this window 0 to 6 is the one you cannot get back. The human brain at birth is only 25% of its adult size. By age 6, it reaches nearly 90%. This is not gradual background growth. This is the most explosive phase of neural development a human being will ever experience. Every repeated experience in these years becomes a permanent pathway. The brain is not being filled, it is being built, and what it is built around becomes the default for life. The region Japanese researchers focus on most during this window is the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that controls attention, impulse regulation, emotional control, and empathy. It is the slowest part of the brain to mature. It won't fully develop until the mid-20s, but its foundation is laid right here in these first 6 years. What gets wired in this window becomes the baseline. What gets neglected here has to be rebuilt later at far greater cost. Here is where screens enter the picture, and this is the part most parenting conversations skip entirely. A screen is not neutral. Every cut, every sound burst, every flash of color is engineered by behavioral psychologists to capture attention. Not earn it, capture it. For an adult brain, this is manipulative. For a brain still building its attention systems from scratch, it is something else entirely. When a young child watches a fast-moving screen, the prefrontal cortex does not engage, it disengages. The brain drops into a passive receiving state, not thinking, not imagining, not problem-solving, just absorbing. And the more time a developing brain spends in this state, the more it begins to expect stimulation at that speed. Slower inputs, a parent talking, a puzzle, a blank piece of paper, start to feel like not enough. Not because they are, but because the brain has been trained to need more. A study published in JAMA Pediatrics found that higher screen exposure at age 1 produced measurable differences in attention, communication, and problem-solving by age 3, not by age 15, by age 3. The window moves that fast. Japanese child development researchers call what screens displace Ikigai no jikan, time that builds the reason for being. Every hour in front of a screen is an hour not spent doing the things that actually construct the brain. A child stacking blocks is building spatial reasoning and frustration, tolerance simultaneously. A child drawing is translating an internal image into something real in the world. A child playing pretend is holding an imaginary reality in mind, assigning roles, negotiating rules, and managing other children's emotions at the same time. Neuroscientists now consider unstructured imaginative play one of the most cognitively demanding activities available to a young brain. No screen replicates it. None. Now I want to be honest here because this conversation often goes to an unhelpful extreme. Screens are not poison. One calm video on a quiet Sunday afternoon is not causing damage. The research is about dose, duration, and what is being displaced. The concern is the daily habit, the background television through breakfast, the phone handed over in the restaurant, the tablet that slowly becomes the primary input for a brain that needed something completely different. Japan is not saying screens are evil. Japan is saying the brain has a construction window, and screens are not construction materials. So what do Japanese children get instead? 3 things appear. consistently across both research and practice. The first is asobi, hand play, drawing, folding, threading, molding, building. Japanese early childhood education treats the hands as a direct extension of the developing mind. Research from the University of Indiana links hand movement in early childhood directly to cognitive development and language acquisition. The second is Jiyuu asobi, free play, unstructured time with no objective, no winner, no adult directing the outcome. A child who is bored and must invent something to do is building executive function in real time. That is not wasted time. That is the work. The third is Kandou, the experience of being moved. Japanese parents deliberately expose young children to quiet moments of natural beauty. A moth on a windowsill, rain on the glass, music in a still room. The goal is to build a capacity for deep attention and genuine wonder, before the world replaces that wonder with engineered stimulation. Here is what this all comes down to. The Japanese rule on screens. Before 6 is not really about screens. It is about protecting the conditions under which a brain builds itself well. Attention that has to be earned, not captured. Imagination that has to be generated, not received. Boredom that has to be survived until it becomes something useful. These are not inconveniences of early childhood. They are the curriculum, and the Japanese understood something that the rest of the modern world is only now beginning to measure in studies and journals. That what you protect a child from in the first 6 years matters just as much as what you provide. The screen will always be there waiting. This window will not. If this video shifted something in the way you see your child's early years, share it with a parent who needs to hear it. And if you want more on the hidden psychology behind the world's most intentional parenting cultures, subscribe. There's a lot more coming. See you in the next one.